Now it's time for Open House, sponsored by Pyramid Heating and Cooling.
When it comes to innovative woodworking projects, there is a guy out there that has taken over the internet. Daniel Barousse. Barousse Works, welcome to Around the House Northwest.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm stoked to be here. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, brother. You are doing stuff out there that is so innovative, taking skateboards and making absolutely stunning projects out of them. What was your inspiration for getting started with this?
Inspiration was I fell in love with woodworking. That was the first step. I built a Sprinter van into a tiny home and just fully fell in love with the process of woodworking. That was my first project, and then from there, I had gotten laid off from my job as the director of sales for an apparel company, and I was kind of in this limbo where I had offers on the table from other companies. I was interviewing with a few brands, really rad brands in the skateboarding world. I had an interview with Vans, and I had a job offer with Volcom, and I had some other things lined up, but nothing was like setting my soul on fire. I had known of being able to take old skateboards and turn them into art from a Japanese artist named Hiroshi. He's kind of the godfather of what I do. I had seen him do that, and I had a friend who was doing it on a smaller level named Grayson Certain. I went and met up with him, and a
That's
couple
awesome.
weeks later, we produced our first table made from recycled skateboards. And it sold in like 30 minutes for a couple grand, which wasn't 2 weeks of work split between two people. Like, it's not much money, but it was a start. And then
Yeah.
7 months later, I
Yeah.
branched out and did my own thing, and then he kept doing his own thing, and then yeah, 5 years later, here I am. This is all I do. This is my full-time job. I make furniture from recycled skateboards. I work with skate shops all over the U.S., and instead of skateboards ending up in landfills whenever a kid gets a new one, they save them for me. And then through a lengthy process, I take the skateboards and I turn them into lumber. And then I make handmade furniture from them. And I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is so beautiful what you're doing. And it's got to be so labor intensive with taking pieces of wood that have been veneered, of course, in the right curvature to make a skateboard out of it. And then you turn around and have to make that and cross cut it back into a project.
Yeah, it's super labor intensive. It's most people don't realize this. So like when you think of like Eric, I'm sure you've talked to many people who do handmade furniture, right? It's
Sure.
super labor intensive.
Yeah.
It's like one of the most labor intensive things to make handmade furniture. Well, I'm doing that, but I'm making my lumber first.
Exactly.
Like most people who make handmade furniture go and they buy their walnut, they go buy their maple, they go buy their cherry, and they make furniture.
Yeah.
I make my lumber, and that's something that is lost on a lot of people until I actually talk to them. And then just the amount of labor that it takes to make just a small piece of usable lumber from old skateboards is really staggering. But um, I'm okay with it. It keeps me, it keeps me so connected to something that I love.
Yes.
And like you can pick up a piece of walnut and there's definitely a story behind that piece of walnut where it used to be a tree.
Yep.
It's absolutely like a romantic story. I just, for me, skateboards are, I pick up an old skateboard and I think, how many times did a kid go outside and do kick flips to get their
Right.
problems solved rather than like resort to drugs or something, negative? And like that energy is in every single one of my pieces. So yeah, it's definitely, I can romanticize what I do.
Well, yeah, because you're so true that every one of those pieces has its own story. How many skateboards do you have in a typical piece?
So like my average coffee table, which is about 2 foot by 4 feet, there's about 30 skateboards in it. Um, and every skateboard, you have to take the grip tape off, and you have to take all the stickers off on the bottom. Then you have to use an angle grinder and remove all the paint
Yep.
on the bottom, and then you have to remove the sticky residue on the top of the board. And
Oh,
then from there, it becomes a raw piece of lumber that you can glue to other lumber. So I'll glue like stacks of 15 boards at a time. And usually a coffee table, I can make just the top from 30 skateboards, and then the legs will take another like 15 or so.
wow. Well, dude, I got to talk to you about real quick before we go about that mid-century modern table that you made that looks floating. That thing is ridiculously cool.
Thank you, thank you. That's one of my favorite designs that I've come up with. I'm excited about that piece. I've so yeah, the concept of that table is, so the top is made, obviously from skateboards, and then I use, in the legs, I take broken skateboards that are laminated, and I put them in a mold, and where the negative space
Hmm?
is, I fill that with a clear epoxy. And then whenever that cure is clear, and I put the clear part on the bottom where it meets the floor, so it kind of gives, when you're looking at the table from a profile view, it kind of gives it a floating effect. Um, very, very cool design to me. I love that design.
Man, that thing is beautiful. So, Daniel, we got to run, but where do people find you to find these tables if they want one themselves, or just check you out on social media?
Yeah, so check me out. I'm on every platform at Barousse Works. That's my tag on every single platform, and I upload 6 days a week. And then my website is barousseworks.com. And from there, they can pre order coffee tables. They can see some of the other pieces that I've done in the past. And they can follow me on social media for, constant, like I'm always releasing stuff. At least once a month, I do a release, and, they can go and buy something or support me, follow me, check it out, see the process. So, yeah.
Thanks, brother, for coming on today, man. Keep doing what you're doing. It is beautiful stuff.